Hi everyone, I'm Sheng Hung Lee from MIT Lab. I'm very happy to be here, but I'm not really physically be here with you guys. Apologies for that because of visa situation and a lot of uncertain kind of reasons. So I've decided to record this video with my presentation with you all, and we definitely can keep in touch through online and also in person afterwards. And I'll be online for Q&A section to respond to your questions. So let's get started. So today's topic is about design for longevity, service, and system innovation. Just give you like a quick overview about myself. I'm Sheng Hung Lee, and actually born and raised in Taiwan. And currently, I finished my Ph.D. in human behavior and service design. I'm very lucky. Before I back to school, I actually work at design consultancy like IDEO Continuum for 6 years. And also very active in design association like IDSA, WDO, or Accumulus Association, for sure, Design Futures. And I was trained as a product and industrial designer, also electrical engineer. So one of my superpowers is CADing, sketching, ideation. And I love to use like software like SolidWorks and typography, use some Arduino to build not just looks and feels prototype, also functional prototype. And during my academia P.h.D. journey, I learned a lot of things like service design, human behavior. So what is service encounter, service scape, and also like how can we use boundary object to provoke the conversation. I use a software like LSTI, apply a lot of like ethnography research skill for my studies. I also love teaching. So as you can see, like this is my 12th years teaching experiences. I taught like at MIT, mainly work with my advisor Joe on the course called Aging and Built Environment, and really focus on product design, service experiences, and system engineering. I touch a little bit on creative leadership and entrepreneurship, but I think that's more need to allow students to explore the experiences rather than teaching them. So this is like the class we had every fall semester called Aging and Built Environment. We collaborate with like AARP, all the sponsored project. So one of the student projects, like they focus on hospital discharging experiences, and we encourage them not just build like a virtual, like digital prototype, also think about the physical, tangible one. So we call it like a phygital plus digital prototype. I also bring these ideas about aging, longevity to my hometown in Taiwan. This is a work with Taipei City government. We think about how can we build age tech city. So today, mainly like 4 sections. I talk about context and motivation. I'll also talk about the gaps in literature, and also want to share like what are the new knowledge. So we call like intellectual nuggets, but this time, because of time, I only share one. And also talk about how this new knowledge can impact the field, right? So what are the overall research contribution? We also cover a little bit about next step. So let's look at the context and motivation. So one of the hypotheses we have is like maintaining a good quality of life relies on strategic longevity planning. And we actually start from financial planning, right? So this is our starting point. But we're not just care about financial health. We also talk about services, dermatology, also talk about systems. So it's very diverse kind of aspect and also domain knowledge. Why this matters to us, right? Because like for sure, demographic transformation, people live longer, we have higher life expectancy. We're no longer in aging society, we're actually in super aging society. And the way we think about 3 stages of life, like you're born, you earn, and you retire, needs to be changed and transformed. So what are the implications for this like a multi-generation or multi-stage kind of lifestyle, right? So we have to really think about our fundamental social infrastructure, for example, health, your medical, and your finances, right? So how can we build like multi-generational workforce and environment? And how can we think about cultivate like multi-generational culture and have better life, healthy lifespan? And how can we like erase ageism, also embrace inclusivity. The way we think about age is no longer just chronological years. We also think about different stages, different life stages. So one of the research goal we want to explore in this study is like think about how can we design and develop an effective and meaningful longevity planning service and system. What do I mean by that? So we can think about propose a role called longevity coach, and it's like a subscription services. You probably need to catch up with this person once, twice per year. It could be in person or online. And you can think about, imagine dentists, right? Maintain your dental health, your teeth health. You probably need to wash your teeth like every 6 months. Also think about as a gardener, right? He or she maintain your garden's health, watering your plants, change the soil. It could be weekly basis or monthly basis. Also think about like your fitness coach, right? Maintain your body's health. So it's probably like a membership base. You probably go to gym twice per week or a monthly basis, and it could be like service subscription models. And another example, probably most people know, like Apple Genius Bar, right? So the people there maintaining your electronic health. So if your iPhone, your tablet, your MacBook Pro needs to be fixed, book appointment and go there. They will help you to do the problem solving. So this is the kind of way we think about longevity planning and longevity planning services. Another example, we can think about IDEO collaborate with MassMutual. In 2014, they proposed a project called Society of Grown-ups. So the idea is a younger generation who graduate from college between 3 to 5 years, they don't want to go to bank. It feels less efficient, it feels old. They want to hang out with people in a coffee shop. They want more casual experiences. They want to know about how they can project their future self in terms of their finances. So IDEO, they have retail prototyping experiment. They design like online experiences, offline activities, including branding. You can see all the poster and all the like a slogan on the poster to talk about to celebrate the ideas of financial planning. And we got a lot of inspiration from this project because they can help us think about how might we design better longevity planning services and experiences. And let's look at the gaps in literature. So here I propose like 4 scholars. So Andrew Scott, he's like economics by training, and he proposed ideas about longevity society. He looked at the longevity planning as more from like a macro aspect. Joe Coughlin from MIT Age Lab. So he's more talk about the intersection between business, aging, and marketing. Peter Diaz. So he's a medical doctor, also the author of this book, Outlive, The Art and Science of Longevity. So he's more like look at this from scientific perspective. Like for example, what are the food diet? What are the recipe to eat healthier? And how many times do you need to exercise per day or per week? So he's not just talk about lifespan, also talk about health span from a more scientific perspective. The last author, Laura, so he's like a founding director for Center for Longevity at Stanford. So he's the opposite of Peter Diaz. She's more talk about longevity through like a soft aspect, like emotional health, like a meaningful relationship, family connection. So somehow these 4 scholars help us form these ideas of longevity planning. And again, it's a 3-year study. So we interviewed 81 participants in person. We had 55 expert interview. We designed 5 different types of survey, including screening survey and like a pre and post experiment survey. So we also identified some gaps in literature, right? So Joe talked about relationship-centered models. The thing about Society of Grown-ups project collaborated by IDEO and MassMutual, they all care about like people. Look at the target audiences. So somehow connect with persona. Peter Diaz talked about longevity curve, right? How can we square the longevity curve through medical 2.0 to 3.0? Vink talked about how can we use like social infrastructure as a service design material. And also, people talk about designed for longevity is more for like from a product life cycle perspective. So somehow we think about maybe these ideas of boundary object can be applied to connect with the services and this concept of longevity planning. We're also curious about service like systems, right? We have the people or persona. We talk about boundary object. So what's the connection? What are the link? If we want to use the systematic approach or system engineering, we use this like causal loop diagram as a way to understand the connection between boundary object and users. So somehow these are like the overall literature review landscape, and we focus on the first research question because of time constraint. It's more about the boundary object. How can we use a boundary object to facilitate the conversation between advisor and users? We also want to understand people's persona, right? Who are the target audiences? Can we use like mixed method approach plus their like think about their demographic data, their age, asset, and behavior data to really help us understand who are the real target audiences for this product. For sure, we also want to know people and objects, so we use this like causal loop diagram to connect with, understand their needs, that like uncover this invisible or universal human needs. So these are like overall like a research like our research question landscape, and we only focus on the first research question, which is around boundary object. So again, this is not about financial planning, it's about longevity planning. It's not about product design, it's about service systems. It's not control experiment, it's descriptive studies to kind of satisfy our goal to design a better and also effective, meaningful longevity planning services. So what does that mean in terms of our like research kind of flow and experiment flow? We recruit like 81 participants, and we have 69 qualified. Before they came to the lab, to the space, we wanted to do like a pre-experiment survey to know their financial condition, family relationship, maybe health conditions, before we invite them to come to the lab in person. It's about an hour experiment. 30 to 45 minutes is like we design like a in-person experiment with a cube, with a boundary object to know their thoughts, to know their perception about longevity planning, their ideas, their feedback about this topic. And then we do the quick post-experiment survey and interview to kind of gather their quick thoughts, reflection, and ideas. After 7 days, we do the similar survey again to kind of measure whether they have any behavioral change. So in order to make the experiment very consistent, we also record the video to talk about these ideas of longevity planning. So as you can see, we have 9 clips. Every clip's about 90 seconds, very short, to kind of make sure they all have same amount of like information exposure. We talk about 8,000-day framework, 4 stages of retirement. And we also think about this, our experiment space design. So we use this boundary object, 12 cubes. We use like script theory to know the scene, different actors, what are the sequence of actors, also the prompts. We also use like Service Innovation Corner from Dean Sato in 2012, published at DRS. So you can see that use like 2 projection wall to understand the interaction between the user and also the environment. We also look at this paper, Service Encounter, in the context of financial planning. People talk about like tech and touch. Is it better use the pen and paper versus like use like interactive devices like projector or IoT device to understand how can people build trust with advisor and users? So we have this space. It's not big space, 92 inches times to 120 inches space. We put the furniture, the tables, all the stuff inside to help us make sure the experiment is consistent and we can measure their aspect and reaction. So you can see we use GoPro 360 to record it, Zoom cloud recording to get the verbal data, camera to capture the close shot, and also use the phone to capture the like kind of like behavior on the table, interact with the cube. So a different perspective to kind of prototyping with MIT Asia colleagues, with the pilot test participants. And that's the space-related kind of process, and also the way we use to do analysis, we use like this constructed grounding theory. So basically clustering analysis. So we do the coding, which they call theoretical sampling, and also do analysis. People also call theoretical like synthesize. So it's an iterative process until we couldn't find any new meanings of it. So we call like theoretical saturation. That means like we get all this understanding from their conversation, from their quotes, discussion. So we got this code, right? It's we have 51 axial codes, all from people's conversation. Maybe it's one sentence, or a couple of keywords, or a whole paragraph. And we make it higher level, become 15 focus code and 5 axial codes and 1 thematic codes. So that's our overall like research process and background. And I want to focus on this, the first one, boundary object. So what do I mean by that? It's actually like we have 12 kind of this cube we call boundary objects. We call longevity blocks. It's based on this framework called 8,000 days. It's about like 22 years. So everyone has like a 8,000 days. And this one is focused on the last section. So it's about 65 to 85. And we have like very provocative questions and icons and also the photos. And we call this boundary object. So the idea is like you can see one cube talk about how do you get ice cream cone, right? So the idea is less about the flavor of ice cream. It's about, can you still have ice cream? Do you have diabetes, right? And do you live alone or people deliver to you? Where you live, do you think about aging in place? So somehow it's very similar to ideas of boundary object. We want to use this as a way to provoke, understand people's lifestyle. So as a service provider, I'm like facilitator, have a conversation with our user, which is service recipient. We use this boundary object to create a share space. So kind of like use as way to as a conversational tools. Yeah, this is a thing we just designed. I want to talk about your financial health and also like your social well-being, your family relationship. Same for participants. So somehow we create a share space to open up the conversation. And I want to share like in 1987, Lee Susan Starr, she talked about 4 types of boundary objects. So I didn't draw this diagram by myself. It's actually originally from the paper. And it's fascinating to me. Let me walk you through one by one. So the first one, you can see like all the square with the same pattern. For this one, the boundary object is like, we want to explore that, connect with people's like a mental model we call schema, right? This type of person is like, I have very strong financial planning expertise and knowledge. Their learning mode is like, yeah, I'm curious about this longevity planning, but also I want to challenge longevity planning. So they have very strong financial literacy and knowledge in their mind. Compared with the second one, we call ideal type. You can see the circle, different size of circle and different patterns. So they kind of like willing to explore. Their mindset, the learning model for longevity planning is like, I'm curious, I accept the ideas, but I want to explore more. So one of the participants told me, she said, yeah, longevity planning is like 3-leg stools. The first leg is about financial planning. The second one may be about family relationship. The third one could be community health. So somehow everyone have different stools, and they have different explanation, interpretation of this concept. The third one, you can see it's called like a terrain with coincident boundaries. So it's a map of California, and people have different focus on the map, right? So you can think about it as playing like a Monopoly, the board games. It's a board game, it's the same boundary, but people have different strategy to finish the game, different strategy to achieve the goal. So they're looking for tailor-made services and products. The last one, forms and labels. You can see the triangle with the same stripe, and also they deliver the 3 triangle to 3 different people. So D means like domain, but here you can think about different people. So people in this group is like, their mental model is like, I fully buy in this concept, longevity planning. And I want more. I want scientific proof product to help me understand more. And also, I'm not only want to have product, I want to be a key opinion leader in this product or in this field. So you can see I use like a phone screenshot with the recipe. Means like they're looking for how to eat healthier, right? How can they exercise better? If you look at these 4 groups of different types of boundary object, we can sort of draw like 2x2 diagram. Are there people looking for optimized solution, or they try to look for maximized possibilities, right? Are they trying to establish a new standard, new norms, or they want to explore more? So somehow the value about this diagram is like it helps us think about longevity planning, services, and product strategy, right? For example, the first one, people strongly know about financial planning knowledge. So maybe the product we design about longevity planning could be more like a modular, optional product to integrate to their current financial planning model and services. Compared with the second one, they're willing to explore. So the idea is like, in terms of design the longevity planning services, we're not just think about the financial planning knowledge. We can also integrate like education, community, investment, other domain knowledge to make it more richer, more interesting. The third one, like people looking for, they already trust this idea, longevity planning, but looking for tailor-made services. How can we design longevity planning product and services to associate their needs across different life stages? The last one, forms and labels. So they fully believing they want to be a key opinion leaders. The idea is like, how can we provide more like scientific approved product, like could be recommended by experts or a community, so they can really use the product, not just use, they also want to share with their friends and family. So that's kind of the way we look at this, like the 4 different types of like boundary object can help us design better longevity planning services and product based on people's mental model. It's very short. I only focus on research 1 questions. And in terms of contribution, it's a long, it's a 3 years project. We use a script theory to construct the experiment workshop. We use like a boundary object to facilitate the conversation. We use like constructed grounded theory to really like do a data analysis. I also use some statistical like analysis tool like cluster analysis, K-means, HCA, to help us interpret data better. So basically, the main contribution for this research question 1 is like we come up with like 2x2, and if we can understand how people interpret this boundary object in 4 different types, we can kind of understand their mental model, their schema, to help us better design longevity planning services. So the next step is like, instead of just think about the physical artifacts, we also think about how can we connect with technology, how can we scale these services. So we use like a projection for this experiment, but maybe in the future we can think about the tablet AR, right? How can we extend the information from the cube to make it more immersive, more interesting, or more tailor-made? We also think about using like AR, VR, right, as wearable devices to find a boundary between virtual and physical. And what does that mean in terms of building people's trust, in terms of user interaction and behavior, and also in terms of their decision-making process? We also think about, besides just the cube, maybe there's more light-weighted artifacts like cards. So these cards actually from 55 expert interviews, and we got the content, think about 12 different themes, directions like home, education, investment, risk, like also like community. And we test the card when we conduct the workshop in Taipei with Taipei City Government, also like TDRI, Taipei Design Research Institute, to help us understand how can we build better healthcare related services for Asian market. So I'm very exciting. This is a 3 years huge project to share part of it with audience from future days. And also, like hopefully by the end of this year, going to publish this book called like Design for Longevity: Shaping Purpose for Future, Shaping Purposeful Transformation. It's a book not just capture the research part, also like personal learning, personal story, and failure stories. I really appreciate all the people who support me in this process, my advisor, industry mentor, and people I work with in the industry. We also did a lot of exhibition in Red Dot, published the article in Innovation Magazine from IDSA. Thanks for Professor Andreas. We have this publication with the University of Bologna in Italy. It also got covered by Design Magazine in China. Exhibition, we give a talk in Taipei City Government. We have the exhibition in Venice Innovation Design two years ago. Last year, we also won the award from Parsons Design Intervention. I'm very happy that part of the research got published by this book. I'm part of the co-editor for this book called Systematic Service Design. Feel free to scan the code. Is open access, so you don't need to buy the book. You can also get a digital version. I think what makes me really happy, exciting is not about this achievement or exhibition. It's about how it really influence people. So I'm very exciting people to share with me their thoughts about. You help me to find my thesis topic. You help me realize design can do more than just physical object. We can do social, make a social impact, meaningful social impact. So somehow it's very exciting. I also believe that design for longevity, the term or the action, it's a collective effort. I know I run a little bit out of time, and feel free to scan the code, contact me online through my website, my email, and also my social media. I'm very exciting, and I apologize again. I can't be there with you guys, but I really hope that we can meet each other soon. And feel free to ask questions during the Q&A section. I'm very exciting, and thanks again for the invitation from Future Days. Thank you.